I'd like to introduce Peter Guinane from Knowledge Tree Consulting. All right, Peter.
All right, I know some of you might have thought I was going to come in playing a trumpet or something. I haven't done that in a long time. I used to play when I was a kid, and I did want to do that, but I never had the guts. And I wanted to start with a little something lively, perhaps, but importantly, it's a metaphor for how we run our businesses. You know, often we start as a sole proprietor. We're capable, talented, we're having some fun. And slowly, over time, we build an ensemble of skilled, talented, capable people with us. And we're singing "I Will Survive" the whole time. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. But also, like all good things, that song has an end. And you know, when you start the song and you're going through the song, you have to be prepared for how it's going. There is a plan. There's a written music that you're following, and it does come to an end. And that's what my talk is going to be about today. And is this clicker for me, Dave? Yeah. Okay. So my talk today is going to be about thinking about the end. So even when you're starting a business, if you want to be successful, I can't imagine anyone starting a business that doesn't have dreams of success. To be successful, you really do have to be mindful of where you're going with it and what the end looks like. And so we call it the exit dream. And no, sorry, wait. So I just a little background on me, perhaps. I started my business in 1986 as a summer job while I was at university to pay for beer, mostly. But I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I had no idea that I would be in this business. It wasn't how I started, with this, where I am today. This isn't what I dreamt for myself, but it was something that I found along the way. And over the years, when I graduated from university, I said I wanted to give this a go. I really did enjoy the interaction with people, selling, designing, building, creating, and I think that's what a lot of us are motivated by. And the idea of being in business for a lot of us is the idea that we're not working for somebody. We have control over our time. We have profit, and we have less stress. You're not working for somebody, being told what to do, right? This is it, right? This is why we go into business, right? So what business actually looks like is, we're complaining there aren't enough customers. You end up working crazy hours. You're not actually making as much money as you thought you would, and you never have enough good staff. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much what it ends up being, right? So then you start thinking, well, I gave it a good shot. It didn't work out. I'm just going to get out of business. I'm going to sell. So you say, I'm going to just cash out, put the money in my pocket or in the back of my truck, right? So please buy my business. This is where a lot of us go through this process. I was there. So I told you I started in '86. In 1990, I went full time. And in 1993, this is where I was. Please buy my business. But in reality, you do not own a truckload of money. You're most likely losing money out the window, out the back of the truck. This is what business is often like for a lot of us. So, yeah, so we've got a few shared souls in here. Yeah. So this is why we buy insurance. There is value in your business. So understanding where the value is in your business is going to be key to being successful. So the business obviously is not on the right. It is in recurring revenue, it is in recurring profit, and it's in the assets that you accumulate. So obviously nobody wants to buy your business, but we would buy a successful business. So how do you create a successful business that has value, that you can eventually collect that big truckload of dollar bills? So sometimes it's not easy to get from the right to the left to create that business that's successful. There's often a big pit, a cavern that we have to get over, and that's where the expression pitfalls comes from, I think. Should I throw in the towel? The pit is full of danger. So a lot of people are stuck on the right. They're definitely afraid to make the move. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get across this cavern. And most businesses fail. Most businesses give up. So here we got 25% make it beyond 15 years. How many people in here are in a business that's been around for more than 15 years? Okay, so you guys are successful, you've made these plans, or you're masochists, right? So, or you work for a crazy person. So it's hard. And I mean, a lot of these people, I mean, it says fail. So there are a lot of different statistics about what constitutes failure. It could be people sold their business. It could be people finally retired. But a lot of businesses don't make it, and it's tough. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to get to that better way. And it is about bridges. And bridges are designed, they're engineered, they're solid. A bridge is a metaphor for a system. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about systems that allow you to move your business from that struggle to that low stress paradise that you dreamt about. And we got Mark Bradley coming in after me, so I'm not going to talk at all about LMN. I use LMN. It's part of the system that I use. The most important thing that I talk to companies about, and I get to meet a lot of companies, and they're different sizes, and a lot of people, they think first about growth. They want to get their company bigger. They go, it would be so much easier if I had more customers and more employees and more trucks, and then I could pay for all this stuff that I'm struggling with. And what the truth is about running a business is if you are struggling and you have difficulties with your staff or difficulties with your customers, and you grow, then you have twice as many difficulties with your customers and twice as many difficulties with your staff. It's always better to build a system for a small company, be successful, and then double those profits rather than doubling your problems. Also, you can't build that bridge in a day. You can't create a business that is running smoothly in a day. It takes time. So what we do is we talk about setting priorities, creating a plan, a schedule. Start with an easy win. For example, if you have something that you can do that makes your employees more motivated, do that first, because then you get more buy-in from your staff. You'll get, and then you'll have allies to help you continue building systems. We do what's called a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We do that regularly, identifying what our weaknesses are, identifying what the threats are to our business. And then we can prioritize the highest value corrections and make those first. And obviously we talk about profit, recurring revenue, and assets, like in that first slide that talks about where the value is in your business. And taking care of your staff and your clients is part of growing profit. So it's not just cold-hearted, money grubbing, squeeze as much money as you can. Building a positive work environment, building a customer-first or a customer-centered business is going to make you more money and make you more successful. So money is usually the result of being a good business owner. And we use the 5 pillars as the basis for our systems: economics, technology, human resources, operations, sales, and marketing. Pretty basic, but those are literally the structural pillars for a system, for that bridge. And I'm just going to touch on what is included in those. Obviously, you need to follow generally accepted accounting principles. It makes it easier when you have to talk to your bank. I see a lot of companies that have, they're using QuickBooks, but they set it up themselves. The accounts are all messed up. They're not putting things in the right places. They're not amortizing their equipment properly. They're just like tracking sales so that they can pay bills and make sure they have money in the bank. But you can't share that with your bank manager. They're going to look at it and go, nah, you're not getting any money. So having somebody who knows how to set up your accounts is important. And if you're a small company, do it early. Get them set up properly early, because every year they roll over and it gets harder and harder to switch everything. And if you're thinking of selling your business, obviously a purchaser is going to want to see a history of positive financial results, and they're only going to be able to read things that are in the standard format. Technology, so using systems for timekeeping, CRM, reporting, and scheduling. So that's LMN in short, among others. Right, Mark? That's good. He's coming in. Yeah. Well, I mean among others as in now you do other things too. So, yeah. So that'll accelerate the return on investment for a buyer, obviously. And it makes it easier for a purchaser of your business to roll your systems into theirs. In the meantime, and this is the key, and this is why I say start early, is that you will be more profitable every year you're in business, up to and including whenever you decide to sell your business. I made these choices in probably 2005. I said, you know what, we've got things working smoothly now. I want to build my business so that it's saleable. I restructured my corporate structure so that I could sell it to my staff, or I could sell it to a buyer if I wanted. And making some of these choices 20 years ago made me more effective as a business owner, made me more profitable as a business owner, and it gave me more time to spend with my family. And then I didn't have to sell my business. And that's maybe the best part of the story, is that if you prepare your business for sale, you might not have to. Human resources, we heard from Amy today. There's a lot of things that managing your staff well will help you run your business more easily. Obviously, fair contracts, enforceable and renewed annually. There's a lot of companies that are not having a proper contract written for their staff, and a lot of contracts are not enforceable if there is a problem. We heard from Taylor about the wrongful dismissal causes. A lot of that is because you've got poorly written contracts and you're vulnerable. Standard employee assessments. So this is something we recommend you do as well, that you have a standard way of evaluating an employee's performance, and make it fair and make it a 360 evaluation so that it is something that is encouraging them to grow as an employee. It's not about holding them back, but it's an assessment tool to help them grow. And by doing that annually, you will motivate them to strive for better for themselves. Because everybody who wants to buy your business is going to want your employees. We all know that labor is one of the hardest challenges in our industry. So buying a business without the employees just makes that harder. Buying a business with good staff is like money in the bank. Operations, that's the easiest problem to solve. Most of us are good at the trade that we are trained in, so we can see efficiencies on the job site. We can make ourselves run the job more efficiently. We have a poster in our office with the 7 types of waste, and so that we're always thinking about, excess transportation, overproduction, underproduction. There's a lot of things that are simple ways to just be mindful to reduce costs, but having this stuff repeated and trained regularly is a big help. And then sales and marketing. A strong brand is useful. Recurring revenue is where the money is when you're trying to sell your business. So we talked about assets. Obviously, if you own equipment, if you own land, you could just sell that at auction. So that's worth what it's worth. But recurring revenue is where you get multipliers on your income. So recurring revenue is commercial maintenance, where you have multi-year contracts. It could be residential contracts if you have a history of clients renewing. If you have a strong brand and you've had clients for 10 years on a residential contract, there's a good chance they will stay with your company if you sell it and you keep your staff and it's the same staff coming. So there's a lot of value in that. People will pay a lot of money for it. Great location. So if you're in a retail business, you got a garden center, that's the same idea as having a great location. If you have a good location as a garden center, people are going to come regardless of what you do. You could sell pretty much anything if you're in the right location. People are just they can't avoid your location, right? And design build firms will have lower multiples. So we talk about multiples in terms, you might hear that when they say, 10 times earnings or 5 times earnings, or this type of thing with using multiples is not common because there isn't really a standard in our industry for valuing a landscape business. It's every business is very unique, so it's hard to use multipliers. But as a rule of thumb, if you're doing $1 million work and you're making $100,000 profit, if that's consistent, then you might be able to sell your business for 5 times earnings, which is 5 times the 100,000, right? Your business might be worth $500,000 if you're able to make $100,000 regularly, annually, reliably. And that's the idea of what multipliers are. And it'll vary on a number of factors, obviously. And knowing what your numbers are. So these are just really rough numbers, but the idea is that you should know what your numbers are. You should know where you're making money. You should know the difference between gross profit and net profit. And a lot of young companies don't know what that is. And they don't understand how they can work to reduce some of their costs and improve their gross profit. So what we do, we have our staff tracking gross profit. So our staff on the boots on the ground, they only have control over cost of goods sold. They have control over the hours they put in on the job and the materials that go into the job. That's their priority. They manage the job site and managing gross profit, and they try to maximize gross profit on the job site. The overhead is what I have to manage in the office in terms of managing how I run the office and managing overhead. And you might be better or worse than some of these, and your numbers might be in different places, but the idea is that certain types of businesses can run with less overhead. Certain types of business, like residential construction and residential maintenance, requires a lot more hand-holding with the clients, so it's a little more expensive to run, so you have to be running at a higher gross margin to handle the extra overhead. And this one, then we take our numbers off of our financials, and the printing is going to get smaller and smaller as I get further into these documents. So it won't be long. How much time do I have? It won't be much longer. So, but what we do is we know these numbers. So out of the financials, we know what your current ratio is. You know, debt to equity ratios, asset newness, current standing, and there's a lot of things that you can do to assess whether you're in a good position with your equipment. Do you have too much equipment for the amount of work that you're doing? If you've got $1 million worth of equipment and you're only doing $1 million worth of work a year, you're probably overcapitalized. You know, imagining how much that equipment is earning you every year should be like an investment. Would you invest that money in a GIC if it was returning, you know, terrible returns? Obviously not. Your business is an investment. We should be looking at these as investments and looking at the return on investment. And sometimes we have to rent equipment or lease equipment, and that's going to be cheaper for you than owning it and tying up capital that can be used for other things. But you have to know what they are, and you have to know where is reasonable, and you have to know whether it's trending up or trending down. So if it's getting better or getting worse. And you can make decisions every day when you're looking at a piece of equipment and you're looking at buying a property, or if you're looking at buying another business. You can look at how that affects your trend line in terms of, is it adding value to my balance sheet, or is it going to reduce the value of my business? And again, it's not because you necessarily need to sell your business, but a more valuable business is more valuable to you today. So we talk about assets, market value, so you could sell it at auction. Your staff, long-term staff, and skilled staff, when you're buying a company, or we just start over. So I have paid $10,000 to a headhunting firm to get staff to my company. When I needed somebody, I needed a specific skill set, I could put ads out on Indeed and hope that the right person calls. I could interview 100 people, but I put out this call to a headhunting firm and they charged me $10,000 and I got a manager that has been great, right? But that just gives you a sense of what an employee is worth. If I'm buying a company and you have 5 employees, if you've got 5 rock stars, I'm going to give you money in your pocket if they come with your company. So that's value. So taking care of your customers, building a good, solid team, and having them understand that where their value is and how they can help if you choose to sell your business is money in your pocket also. Obviously, sales, we talked about recurring sales, so that's maintenance mostly. Summer, winter, commercial, and residential all has more value than design build or construction. And we talked about multiples a little bit. Emotional equity. So a lot of you love your business. It's a family business. It was handed down to you, and and your kids grew up and they, it was on your property, so it's very meaningful to you. There's not much value in that. So this is where emotional equity can actually be a liability for you if you're reluctant to sell your business. It's obviously proof that you believe in your brand. We're very sentimental. For a buyer, there is value if you plan to stay with the business. And a lot of times when you sell your business, there is a contract where the previous owner stays with the old business for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, up to 5 years. And that obviously bridges that relationship transition for all of the old customers to come over to the new company and get comfortable with the new company before you walk away. And then you have earn-outs for the previous owner. If the customers stay with the company, if they continue patronizing the company, the owner gets additional money in subsequent years. So there's an incentive for the owner to stay with the company and to continue earning out. So recap and review, this is what you want, this is what you have. So look at your business like a buyer. Would you buy your own business? You think it's worth X number of dollars. If you had that money, would you invest that money in your business today? Would you buy your own business? And a lot of people will look at it and go, I wouldn't want that. Yeah. How many people here have thought about selling their business? There's a few. Thought about it, right? So it's just have that in the back of your mind. Think like how does that work? There's a lot of people who will start a business to turn it over. There are people that will buy your business to sell it. So private equity, for example, they will buy a business that they think they can turn around, and they will want to turn it around in 3, 4, 5 years because they can make some changes to it, increase value, and then sell. They don't want to own a business. They want to make money. So that'll happen too sometimes. So you got to think about your business. How would my business be a good investment? What would make it more attractive if I was going to buy it?
Maybe a quick question, Peter. So I started a business to sell the business. So I started the business to sell the business when I was 23. Now I'm in my 50s. And the thought of retirement at 55 was in the cards, and then your children come along and wanted the business. The succession plan completely changes. We've had 30 years looking at, I'm going to grow this business to make it equitable, sellable. And now the transition, I'm at the point where I'm making a big decision on succession because of that change in plan. Do you stick with the original plan, adjust your future plans, to change the conversation with taking the emotion out of it?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. If you're going to leave your business for your kids, you want it to be a good business for your kids for the same reason you want it to be a good business for yourself. Now, you might be generous and give it to them at a steep discount, or not, right? But you still want to have that same perspective, right? You still want to have the most value in the business. And I think the theme of my talk is that if you have a successful business, you might not want to sell it because it's easy, because you're making lots of money. What else are you going to do? And that SWOT is key. So how many people go to the dentist every year? How many people enjoy going to the dentist every year? Okay, that's okay. So there's a referral to a good dentist. If you don't like your dentist, I can get you a good dentist. But the key is you go to the dentist because it keeps you healthy, right? Doing a SWOT every year might be like going to the dentist sometimes. It's a bit of a chore, but it will keep you healthy. And I'm going to say that is going to be an eye-opener, especially if you're not doing it regularly. It's going to be an eye-opener. And give yourself time. So a lot of businesses get to a point where something sudden happens and they have to sell the business. You know, a health scare, somebody moves, something happens in the marketplace. And if you don't leave yourself enough time to make your business saleable, you will accept a huge discount on your business. So give yourself time. It takes a couple of years to prepare your business to be saleable. And that talks about just making sure your books are clean, your assets are organized, you get rid of your waste. And then the actual sale itself will take at least 2 months to go through the due diligence to make it happen. And that's very fast. That's not easy to do, but it's possible. But it's gonna cost money to the seller if you're trying to advance it. Or if you're a purchaser and you want something quick, you're gonna have to pay extra to accelerate something. So most sales include a transition term I mentioned before, of a couple of years up to 5 years. And if you decide today you want out, it could be 8 years before you're free of your business. So you have to start thinking ahead. And if you don't have 8 years, if you're thinking I want out in 5 years, then you better get on the horse and start making some changes. So there's a SWOT. So you cannot, I can't blow it up enough to see the details in it, but what it is we do it based on the 5 pillars so that I talked about at the beginning. We go through every little bit of your business to find out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You want to do more of what you're good at, and you want to stop doing what you're bad at. And those things, the red ones, there's only a couple of red ones on this company that we did a SWOT for. There's only a couple of things that are a threat, and those things are going to be top of the priority. Those things are items in your business that have to be addressed first and urgently because they're a threat to your business. And then hopefully over time, we do this each year, we eliminate all the threats or reduce them and make them unlikely. And then we make sure that we focus on the next worst item. Each time we do this, we reprioritize what's going to make the biggest difference to our business. So I'm not going to ask anyone what their business is worth, but I want you to think about it for yourself and to think about the assets that you have, the assets and the sales commission, the earnouts that we're talking about, the headhunting fee, so do you have good staff? And then you can sort of think about that in terms of in relation to your earnings. So if you're doing a lot of business but you have low value in your business, there's an opportunity there. That's going to be an easier one to turn around. There are some businesses that are small that are worth a lot of money. Where you're doing $1 million a year, or you can still get a lot of money for your business if it's efficient, if it's profitable, if you have good staff, if you don't have a lot of debt, you can still make a lot of money. A lot of businesses, like I think we talked about it earlier, the average business in our association is 5 to 10 people. They're not doing huge numbers, but there is value there. If they organize their business so that it's saleable, they can still make a good chunk of money to take on the way out. So, and this is the other thing that you have to sort of be mindful of. When we make projections of what's coming and how we see our business in the next 5 years and 10 years, you make 5 and 10 year predictions all the time. Oh yeah, I'm going to double my business in 3 years. You always have to be mindful that something's going to happen, and none of these things people guessed that something's going to happen this year, next year, the year after. There's always people guessing, so there's always somebody who's going to be right about the next, economic shock. But in truth, nobody really predicted any of these things with certainty. And when you're projecting your future state of your business, just be mindful that it's not going to be smooth. There are going to be existential factors that reduce that dream of yours. So that's why it's even more important to be prepared and insulated from what's happening here. So I started my business in 1986. So I've been through the last 7 or 6 of those issues. But by having a good balance sheet, by having good customers, by having good staff, I was able to weather each of those things. And it's recurring sales and a balance sheet and a stable workforce will get you through these things. It did slow down my growth. I wasn't able to grow as quickly as I thought I would because I didn't plan on any of them. And I keep thinking, next year I've got my sales projection is 20% higher. And then, 2008, it didn't happen because it didn't happen for anyone. So I have, we're out of time, but I did have some links where I was just going to look at what companies look like, but in terms of your financials, there was some images of some financials that are pretty good, but they need some fixing, and I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of us because we're not accountants by training. It doesn't come naturally to most of us to have your books organized properly. But if they are organized properly, it's much easier to read, it's much easier to see the value in your business, and it's much easier to make choices to add value to your business and make a better life for yourself and potentially for your kids. So that's my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any. Phil?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Peter, I
Phil.
was fascinated by, thank you. The renewable contract piece. My assumption is if the contract's renewed, it expires. And part of your value is having good staff that you can then pass on. So how are you ensuring that you're able to pass on good staff when you've got that variable there?
Yeah,
That was-
it's about having a good company culture for your staff. Like, so Amy can attest to it, I'm sure, that staff that feel secure, that feel rewarded, that feel appreciated, if you can maintain that culture, a positive culture, then your staff will stay. I've purchased 2 companies myself, and I sold part of my company many years ago. At that time when I said I wanted to sell my business, I did sell my maintenance business. And then in 2012, I purchased a maintenance business, and the staff stayed with me because we created a positive atmosphere for the staff. And then just this past year, I bought another maintenance business because I want to build that part of my business more than any other part. But the staff have stayed, and the reason they stay is because we create a staff-centered culture. If we make our staff happy, they will make our customers happy. Customers sign back year over year. That's why the company I purchased has had customers, renewing for 20 years in a row. And it's a culture thing, I think.
I'll probably ask the question wrong, sorry. I guess I was saying, if you're a purchaser, this isn't you, but if I'm coming in to buy your company and I see a bunch of contracts that expire at year end, I don't have my concern would be I wouldn't have the confidence that those people would stay.
Yeah, right.
Based on the contract.
Yes. Good. So I did talk a little bit about earnouts for the owner of the business if contracts continued, and it includes the staff. So I've purchased a company, and next January there is an additional earnout if the staff are still with the company at the year end. So I do have earnouts for the seller if the contracts renew, if the staff renew. So it is built into the purchase, yeah. You would do that. And that again motivates the previous owner to stay with the company, to make sure the staff are happy with the transition, to make sure the customers are happy with the transition. I'm paying for that additional service from the seller.
So how did you keep a good culture or create one?
So it's about respect. So I try not to tell my staff what to do. I try to create systems and processes that work best for the project. And the staff have a good understanding of how that can look. And including them in my process development makes them feel more respected. It makes them happier with the final choices. And hopefully it's making better processes because the people doing the work are helping me find those pathways. That's part of it. Also money. They like getting paid a lot of money. We have benefits, and the only way I can afford to pay them lots of money is if we do excellent work and we reduce the waste in our business. So by streamlining the business, I can afford to pay my staff what I need to pay them. And that certainly helps. That's all.